This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Brad Shaw and Dan Chichagash. Buckle in. The show starts now.
Nothing surprises me anymore. The intros.
Who are you?
Who are you?
I gotta go.
Nothing surprises.
Oh, jeez. Hey, man, I'm sorry about that. I had to use the restroom. It was just crazy. I had to take a leak and everything like that, man. What's going on? Oh, sorry, we're on?
We're live.
Welcome to Crush This, a Monster Truck Podcast. Oh, what? I'm surprised by
my God.
High Octane Coffee, J Concepts, Bat Channel Productions, 6B Apparel, JB Scale Graphics. Man, I next week, Raj Smith. Man, I'm so excited, man. It was crazy, man. I'm sorry. My bladder was kicking. It hurt it hurt big time, but why? What's going on? I'm breathing really heavy, man. I was trying to hurry up the bathroom upstairs. What's up? I'm lost here. What's going on?
Nothing surprises me anymore, dude. Like, I don't know what you're gonna do for the intro every week. Guys, I don't know what you're gonna do.
I'm so lost.
You're. Oh my goodness. Well, welcome to the podcast, everybody. As Dan said, we are supported by High Octane Coffee, J Concepts, Back Channel Productions, 6B Apparel, Jamie Scale Graphics, and also Bradley Shaw Designs. If you're wondering why my background has changed again, I'm back in my apartment. Got all my setup back here, so I'm back in my place. Yeah, Dan just dropped the
okay.
Oh man, dude.
So let me open up the cat in the bag here. I'm hanging out at Nathan Smith's place. Nathan's here.
Hello, everybody.
We had a couple of fiberglass sales going on. Not sales, but anyway, I had to drop some pieces off, and he lives right next door to the guys. I'm just staying over for tonight and got my gear and everything like that. And actually, I sold this Blue Yeti to him, so it's actually his. Not Blue Yeti, but Snowball, and I just like to keep that in studio, at my house. But yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that was it. I wanted to try something different, and he has a little escape door or one of those things, and I thought, pretty cool. He just comes out, and when I use the restroom to come in and come back, and he hears me and gotta go, and he just takes off, and I just thought that would be pretty funny. You thought it was pretty good? I think that was pretty good.
Well, look at on the bottom of the screen there, it shows our little thing. So when we're in the background, I can kind of see what's going on. So all of a sudden I see Cheech just bail out and oh God, what are we going to go through this time? It keeps it fun, and I love that. So how is doing picture truck in Oklahoma this weekend, dude?
It was all right. They had this festival called the Diamond Festival. Nathan was in Texas, and that's a whole nother story. But with Oklahoma, we went and we had our picture truck, and our picture truck did sign-ups and stuff like that, and we went ahead, and there was a guy that I don't know what you call them, impersonators. He looked exactly like Jason Aldean, and he sung just like Jason Aldean, and he came over and hung out with us at the truck. He looked exactly, talked, and everything like that, like Jason Aldean. It was crazy. And And after that, we just came back. It was a simple, easy one. It was pretty cool driving a monster truck in downtown Salsa, Oklahoma. That was
I
pretty
saw that
much waking
video.
up. There was a guy in a white Silverado all jacked up, and I think he thought he was the truck on the street. He didn't know we were coming. We came, we saw, we conquered. So that's go on your phone.
Yeah.
And everything from that. So yeah, it was a good time. Not gonna lie about that. But this weekend we will be in north of Vernon, Indiana, and we're gonna do a 1-day car crush display over there. So it's gonna be pretty cool. Mike Wine's gonna come hang out. AJ,
no.
Tony Farrell's daughter may stop by. What? Oh, Mike Wine.
You better be
Yeah.
careful.
I think there's a little delay going on. But yeah, it's gonna be a I think be interesting time. Then we're gonna get all ready for the Minnesota Auto Show that's gonna be coming up here too. But I think there's a delay going on.
Yeah.
So bear with me here on my end. I don't know if I'm ahead or behind. But
I think you're a little bit behind.
Yeah, so a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
I can hear you. The picture though is a little behind on my end.
Okay, it's not on.
But outside that,
doing
pretty good.
It must be my audio and stuff behind, so it's all good. But yeah, as for me, I'm back in my apartment, which is exciting for me. I spent the last month and a half out at my parents' house, getting myself better, getting myself mentally healthy. So back in my apartment, I'm excited about that. I got a lot of big things going on. I'm going to be starting to do some video game streaming. I want to do a playthrough of Monster Jam Steel Titans 2 for everybody. So kind of just going to be doing that, trying to keep, my stress levels down and just enjoy life. That's kind of what my focus is right now. So,
also want to give a shout out to you, Brad. The crew at the Renegades right now are going to be doing a interview with Scott Douglas, which is pretty cool. Yep. So if you guys have a time to that too, go check that out. They're in full swing right now, and they're doing pretty good. What's up, Mike? How's it going? Mr. Hedman just said, "What's up, guys?"
Quick shout out to CJ Ritu, made his debut this last weekend. It's awesome to see him, finally behind the wheel of a big truck. CJ is one awesome kid. He's 14 years old now. I got to meet him and the rest of the Renegade crew and his dad and everybody. So shout out to CJ. Awesome job. Getting your old man and racing there. So proud of you, buddy. I'm stoked for you, man.
So let's get to the main topic here, which is pretty cool because I'm gonna introduce her. She was the announcer to our Arena Tour 4 in 2020, and it was a pretty cool time for how short-lived it was. If you think about it, even though it was like 2.5 months of touring, compared to the whole year, it was short-lived. She also did the Monster Jam, the amusement park scenario there, and a lot more. She's a former New York Jets cheerleader, and also pretty knowledgeable on the game of football too, which is pretty cool. But I may screw up the last name, but I'm not gonna try to. But that's Miss Kimberly Cantoni.
Hi guys.
I think I screwed it up.
No, you didn't. That was perfect. Can I just say, Dan, I was a little freaked out by the opening, by the way, because I literally didn't know that you were going to do anything crazy like that. And all of a sudden I was like, wait, that's not Dan. Am I on the right show? I was so confused.
He does that every week. That's never know what he's going to do.
That's so funny. Oh my God. It was a treat. So thank you for that. Thank you.
What is it? One time I was just the intro at the end of the intro, I just spit water all over the place, like we're starting. And
oh my God.
What else, Brad? What else have I done?
There's like I just it always changes and it keeps me for a loop because there's times where I cannot breathe at the beginning of the intro because I'm laughing so hard. It's getting to the point where like it's like the most randomest things. He'll just be like all of a sudden just looking off into the distance one week, or he'll be like there was one where he was just pouring a glass of water just continuously just to start the podcast. I'm trying to start it, and he's just like, I'm just like, hey, everybody, like, what's going on? What are you doing?
Or the one time when I thought my stove was on fire.
Yeah.
No. Like, oh no! And it wasn't on fire, but I just reacted to it. It was just different things I just come up with, and then Nathan told me about this little door, and I was like, oh, that'd be cool. Like, he just disappear, and I go use the restroom, and he just pops out of nowhere, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like some hobo or something like that.
That was not planned originally. That was like 5 minutes before this. I'm like, oh wait, there's a door back here. He's like, perfect.
It was so well done. I was like so confused. I was like, oh my god, wait, and now he's gone. Then there's Dan. Like everything's fine. I was like, wait, well done, well done.
I basically see Nathan go up to the chair. I'm like, what are they doing now? Like, what is going on?
There's the best one I am planning on doing is like doing an intro where I entered Brad's house. That's what.
That'd be the weirdest one ever.
That would be so good, though.
Well, that would require him traveling borders and COVID tests, and I don't think that'd be able to happen for a long time.
Well, considering I'm okay with taking COVID tests, plus I got a passport, Brad. So
you gotta make it happen.
And Mikey Vauders Jr. just proved that the borders are open. So
there you go.
Anything's possible, Brad.
Yep, that's true.
I still got my flyer miles from Feld, and they don't die, so I can use those.
Yes, thank God, though. Let me tell you, thank God.
But okay, let's start from the beginning. Were you in general in the sports? How did you get yourself to the point where you're at when you became a New York Jets cheerleader?
So for me, I grew up a huge New York Jets fan and a Mets fan. I would watch the games with my dad on the couch all the time. So my dad really taught me, the game of football specifically and the game of baseball. So those are like some of my earliest childhood memories, just watching the Jets and watching the Mets. So for me, it was always just a way of life. And it's funny because not too many girls were really into sports. Like I was the girly girl, growing up. I did dance, I did pageants, but I also loved sports. That's just who I was. And fast forward to when the flight crew came about, the New York Jets flight crew, which is the name of the cheerleading squad. It was 2007. And I said to myself, wow, like how cool. Finally, the Jets have cheerleaders. Never thinking that I would ever become one of them one of those days. So fast forward to, it was 2012, and a friend of mine actually was just retiring from the team, and she reached out to me and said, I think you would be perfect for this. It's a jazz style dancing, it's pom style. I think you would fit in perfectly. And for me, I've always wanted to be a professional dancer. Growing up in New York City, I wanted to be on Broadway. That's what I kind of grew up around. And that, for me, that's where I thought I was going to have my dance career. So I didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, I'm going to go and audition, see what happens. So the first year, I did not make it on my first try. So my first year in 2012, I made it to the semifinal round and got cut. But instead of looking at it as like a negative, I looked at it as a positive, thinking to myself, wow, I made it so far, at least made it past the first cut, and then my first like professional sports entertainment type job. So I kind of took from that experience, what can I do to improve and what do I need to do to make it to finals? And I was able to use that the following year in 2013 made it all the way to finals and made the squad. And I was an NFL cheerleader for 5 seasons. I cheered from 2013 through 2017 and then retired at the 2018 Pro Bowl in Florida.
I just gotta test my mic. Check. Does that sound better? Check.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
good. I got a text from my mom like your mic is muffled. I'm like, oh, okay. I had to go change it. So going through tryouts for cheerleading, like how intense is that? Like I don't know much about cheerleading and much, but what's the intensity like when you're going through that, competing with all these different girls?
So if anyone has ever seen, Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders Making the Squad, that TV show that's on CMT, it's very similar to that tryout experience. So there's usually 4 rounds of auditioning if you're auditioning for the first time as a rookie candidate. You go through the preliminary round, which is 90 seconds of freestyle, where you can show the judges basically what you can do best. And then if you make it past that round, you come back to semifinals where they teach you 8 counts of 8 of their choreography and the kick line. If you make it to that, you make it to the final round, which also includes a one-on-one interview with the coach. And then when you go to the finals, you compete against the veterans. And that's the thing a lot of people don't realize, that as a veteran, you also have to try out every year. We have a saying where you work to get the part and you work to keep the part. So you have to earn your spot back every single year. You're not just a shoo-in because you've been on the team before. So at the final round, the veterans and the rookies compete, where we will do usually a 90-second solo of our choice in our own style, and people wear costumes and really go all out for the solo. And then you do the semifinal dance together. So you're put in groups of 5 and you're mixed up between veterans and rookies, and you all look the same. You're wearing the same kind of sports bra outfit. So to the judges, it's hard to tell who's a rookie and who's not. So as a rookie, you're like, oh, wow, this is great, because if I'm a good dancer, I'll look like a veteran. As a veteran, you're like, oh no, if I don't look good enough, I will not come back. So that's kind of the audition process. It's a lot of hard work. And like I said before, as a veteran, you have to audition every single year. Like there's no guarantees. And that's why for someone like myself, 5 years is a long time to come back year after year and continue to try and outdo yourself from the year before. That was always like one of the biggest stresses, trying to figure out what solo I was going to do. Because I would say to myself, oh my God, my solo was so good last year. Like, what am I going to do this year now to kind of stand out from the rest of the crowd? So it's a bit of a vigorous audition process for rookies and veterans alike.
So you mentioned about the Pro Bowl, and how did that actually come about? Like, this is actually a more like a 2-part question type deal. Mm-hmm. You getting into the Pro Bowl, was that a vote from the team itself? And when you got to the Pro Bowl, how was that being with different members of the other 31 NFL football teams? And how did you guys, who was the coaches and stuff like that, to choreograph like the routines in the Pro Bowl? So that's a lot of information right there. I'm sorry, Kim, but I'm just wondering about the Pro Bowl in general.
Yeah, no worries. So to answer the first part of your question, every team is different. For us, our head coach decides who goes to Pro Bowl every year, and it's usually based on seniority, how, in what ways you've given back to the team, if you've had any leadership positions, and if you possess the core values of the team to be the best ambassador at the Pro Bowl. So then from there, and actually I was announced on the field. It was like December 3rd, 2017. It was after our first quarter dance, and they announced me after that dance. We were just told, by the way, don't leave the field after you're done with the routine, just freeze there. So then I froze there, and they like threw my picture on the big jumbotrons, and that's when they announced that I was going to Pro Bowl. I had one of those like Miss America moments where I like started crying. I looked up to the sky, had the pom-poms in my face. I like melted down to the ground. It was like one of those dramatic, like, oh my God, I did it kind of moments, but it is on YouTube for everyone to relive forever and ever, and I don't regret doing it at all. So being at the Pro Bowl, right? You asked a long question, so I'm going to give you a long answer. This is why I was a host, guys, because I can talk. So,
no, I was going on YouTube to find the Pro Bowl deal, so that's what I was going.
Oh, you'll find it. It's on there, or it's on my website. It's there. But being at the Pro Bowl for me was the best way to end my career, not just as an NFL cheerleader, but as a professional dancer. So for me, I tore my ACL meniscus in my left knee in high school. And I did have surgery on it, reconstructive surgery, went through physical therapy, basically had to reteach myself how to dance again. It was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, but it made me a better performer, and it just made me appreciate life so much more than I did before. So by my last year on the flight crew, when I went to Pro Bowl, I had arthritis already diagnosed in my knee. And I actually had to get a cortisone shot to survive the last 3 months of my dancing, because without it, I was in such severe pain. It was awful. So I knew going to Pro Bowl that basically that was my farewell to dancing. So it was the best way to culminate my entire career and everything I worked for, you know, especially with the injury and going through recovery and being told by doctors I'm never going to dance again, to kind of be there at the Pro Bowl with, and there's actually 26 of us, because not every football team has cheerleaders. So it was only 26 of us that were there. And I was the sole representative of the New York Jets that year, because they didn't send any players that year. So it was just me representing the New York Jets. So it was one of the biggest honors of my life, honestly. It just, and my whole family was there. My then fiance was there, and just to see them there, and it kind of just was a great full circle experience, you know, growing up watching the Jets on the couch with my dad to now having my dad in the stands at the Pro Bowl watching me on the field for the last time. It was one of those surreal full circle experiences. And E2K Productions was the production company behind Pro Bowl, and they were solely responsible for the cheerleaders. So they sent us a video of like all the dances we had to learn. So we came to Pro Bowl already knowing all the dances except for the halftime routine, which we learned there on site, which we got to do with Jordan Fisher, which was like my backup dancer moment for sure. It was on a stage, it was raining. It was like one of those moments where I was like, okay, I'm good now. I mean, it's Jordan Fisher, but Jordan Fisher's cool. So I mean, it was fine. It was all good. And we had to learn the pregame routine there as well. So it was just so cool to meet the other girls. And actually, we still have a group chat with all the Pro Bowl cheerleaders. I still talk to so many of the girls now. It was just great to be in an environment where with so many girls that do the same thing that you do and have the same kind of passion as you, even though we're all from different teams and different conferences, some of which we compete in the same conference in the same division. It was nice to be able to kind of come together as the all-star cheerleader. So it was such an unforgettable experience.
So, you know, with being a dancer in the NFL, of a cheerleader, you know, what kind of preparation do you have to go for before a game? So does it start, maybe 2 or 3 days before? Does it start a week before? What's the kind of preparation that goes into doing that on a game day?
So we actually go through a training camp process just like the players do. And we start over the summer where we start to learn all our routines. We practice 3 days a week, 3 hours each. Usually twice we would practice in the city in a dance studio. And then every Thursday we would go to Florham Park where the facility was and practice on the field. So when it comes to game day, usually we would practice 3 days a week, usually Mondays and Wednesdays, kind of cleaning the routines that we were going to do for the games. We always knew in advance what quarter dances we were going to do, but we also had sideline dances that we would do as well, which basically are 40 to 50 short dances whenever the music played in the stadium, whether, it was a TV timeout or whenever the ball wasn't in play, we would dance for the fans. So usually during rehearsals, we would kind of clean all those routines up. Then on Thursdays, we would set everything on the field. And then when you go into game day, we would be the first people to arrive. So if the Jets were playing a 1:00 game, our call time would be 7 a.m. at the stadium. We would be the first ones on the field. We would have a full practicing all the routines on the field and anything else we needed to do. And then some of us, including myself, was on what's called a show team, which is a small group of technically trained dancers that would perform a pregame dance, kind of like at MetLife stage, right by the Verizon tent. And we would practice for that too. So not only did we practice on the field for about 3 hours before the game, but then we go to another practice for that rehearsal. And then we go back out and dance for 3.5, 4 hours. So it is a very long day. Even the rehearsals, it's a lot of work. And that's the thing. Not a lot of people see the hard work that we put in. They see the cheerleaders on the field and we're all glitz and glammed out. We have full makeup. Our hair is big, and people don't really know what goes on behind the scenes, how there's a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes just to be prepared for game day.
Man, that's pretty crazy on how you did that. And then after you, one thing also, the team that I like don't even have a cheerleading squad. That's the Steelers.
No, they don't.
I mean, I brain farted on that. No, I just brain farted on that. But anyway,
no,
good. So how did you transition to that to a completely opposite end of the spectrum in monster trucks?
I know, right? Even when I tell people like my story, it's like, wow, how did you even go from like one extreme to a completely other extreme? And for me, I knew that I was not going to be able to dance forever. I knew that my 5th season was going to be my last year, and I was diagnosed with arthritis in my 4th season of the flight crew. So during that time, I thought to myself, like, what do I want to do after the NFL? And like, for me, working 9 to 5, it just wasn't for me. I was always a performer. Like, that's the kind of person that I wanted to do. And I wanted to find a way to still stay within like the sports entertainment type realm, but not sacrifice my body. And I came across, hosting and, being involved in sports in that way and using my voice on a microphone. I was like, wow, I can do that. I've done a lot of like media work with the Jets, and I was like, well, I can probably do this. And I came across the audition to host for Monster Trucks on Backstage, which is where a lot of performers go for auditions and casting calls. And I went to I was like, I think I can do this. And I, did as much research as I could. Coming from me, a girl from New York City, the only thing I knew about monster trucks was Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Like, that's all I really knew about monster trucks. Like, I was a complete novice walking into this world, but I did as much research as I possibly could to be as prepared as I could be as someone that didn't know monster trucks. But as they say, fake it till you make it. And I sure did. And I made it all the way to getting a job, which is amazing to me. So I got to host for 3 years, which was so cool. Like, I absolutely love this world, especially as somebody who, was so new to it. It was almost seen as like an outsider coming into this world. I just was so blown away. I remember seeing my first show at the final audition, and I was so hooked. I was like, God, I hope I get this job so this could be my life. And I'm so happy that I did, and it was my life. It was so cool to be a part of. But yeah, it's one of those things where people look at me funny, like, wait, you did what? And then you did what? It's such a weird like transition, but a very cool transition.
So let's talk about, you talked about you kind of had no knowledge about the sport coming into it, and you did your research. What was some of the things that kind of helped you get knowledge about the sport? Obviously a lot of hosts and stuff trained with Scott Douglas, and others, like I believe Greg Whitaker was doing some stuff as well, I believe. Talk about the training that you had to go through to learn about the sport, and what it kind of stuff that you had to go through.
So I too got the chance and the honor to work with Scott Douglas and Greg Whitaker. I was so thrown off when I found out who they really were, because I met them in the audition and I didn't know who they were. I was like, oh, nice to meet you. Like, shook their hands, and then they started speaking, and I was like, oh, you're like the voices. Okay. No pressure, no big deal. This is fine. So they got to work with us a lot on just kind of understanding, what the objective was of monster trucks, understanding what the competitions were, getting to know some of the drivers. I think that was for me the most helpful, was talking to the crew chiefs and the drivers, not only about their passion and why they're here, but also to kind of understand, how does the monster truck work? Because for me, it wasn't just about, reading off from like a script. It was, I wanted to make sure that I was as knowledgeable as I could be. And I, would read material, would look up things online. I would study old like YouTube videos of past events just to make sure I understood, everything I could about monster trucks, because I wanted to come off as knowledgeable. Even for me, I love stats. I'm a big stats person. So for me, it was important to be able to understand why people, like why they got the stats they did, and be able to recite that as well for the fans. So the fans knew exactly what was going on. So a different type of intense training, I guess you can say, as opposed to being a flight crew cheerleader. Again, for me, with a flight crew cheerleader, it became a little bit easier for me because I've been a dancer my whole life. This was something completely brand new, and I wanted to make sure that I had done the right amount of work to, keep the integrity of what it was.
So Ryan Landers, we're talking. He was asking about what we're currently talking about. Kim is a monster truck announcer. She announced for Monster Jam, and that's what we're talking about right now. Back to the topic, let's you getting into the monster truck world. Yes, it's one extreme to another, but then again, it's not really that different, because one, you have fan interaction. You hear it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
45,000 plus fans at MetLife Stadium is, either going to cheer or boo on the performance of the football team that's behind you. And then in monster trucks, in Monster Jam, you go from, maybe a show at MetLife, but, like this year, well, we did a show in Hartford, Connecticut, or the arenas around the country, in different places that you really never get to go to. I mean, obviously you got, in the NFL, you went to a lot of the football stadiums, but in the monster truck world, outside of going to a football stadium, you could go to the Anaheim baseball stadium where the Angels play at, or the Staples Center where the Lakers play basketball. You have all this connection and stuff like that. So how was that also with the fan interaction? Because now you're not outside of where the fan zone's at, but you're in the middle of it. So how was that experience like, being an announcer for Monster Jam?
It was so cool to basically be in the action with the fans. When you're cheering, you're on the field, you're on the sidelines, you can see the fans, but you can't necessarily talk to them. You can interact with them, by waving a palm or by dancing, but you can't talk to them, and that was what was so cool about being an announcer, is I could literally stand there next to a child and who saw me on the pit. And now all of a sudden I'm back in the stands and I'm standing right next to them, and their face just lights up like, whoa, like, how did you get from there? And now you're next to me. That was always so cool, just to be able to talk to the fans. They're always just so excited to be there. They love monster trucks. And that was like, it was refreshing for me to be able to be with the fans, especially fans. I loved the families that were there, where the parents grew up watching monster trucks, and then here they are now bringing their kids to share that same experience. Those were always my favorite. What I did love is that I got to control the fans' emotions with my voice. That was always my favorite part, because I knew if they wanted their favorite truck to, win an event, and I knew that when I said the score, they were not going to win. I loved like playing with their emotions. It kind of sounds a little evil, but it was just, that's the kind of like the performer in me. It was so cool to be able to kind of almost dictate how the fans were going to respond. So that too is one of my favorite parts.
So I want to know, so you like I said earlier, you did your research, watch videos, But when you saw a truck doing a performance in person for the first time, what was your reaction to seeing that 10,000 pound, 1,500 horsepower beast do its thing in person?
I felt like a little child, like it just in amazement. My eyes were open. Like I kind of was just like, whoa. Like I just was like immersed in the entire thing. Like it just was so cool. And then to now work and be a part of the shows and kind of see it up close and personal, like I still felt that same kind of excitement. Like in that moment, I was like, wow, like, and now I understand why there's so many fans like across the country and even globally. Like there's so many fans internationally. Like it is just, it's so entertainment. It's so fun to watch. And it just like, I was just so immersed the moment I saw it.
So also, people may not know that you did that Monster Jam ride experience in the Cedar Point, Kings Dominion, the Cedar Lakes Company, and how was that experience like? Because once again, you're with the crowd, you're with the people, but you're in a different area of what people is. Because when I'm saying that is, you're not dealing with Monster Truck or Monster Jam fans. You're dealing with everyone, people that may, like basketball or whatever. So, how was that experience like, and how did that help you out also with training for like first quarter or a show in general?
Yeah. So when I got to host Monster Jam Thunder Alley is what the experience was called. And it was me and one other host, and we were kind of like the main team for that experience. And it was a more intimate than a live event because you're there in the middle of a theme park. There are stations within your own bubble, basically. So it was like our bubble had like different monster trucks on display. There was a Monster Jam garage where there were parts of the monster trucks that were there that fans could see and touch. And there was the pit. There was like a pit area where there was like a sandbox where the kids could play. So there were elements of it that were similar to a live event, but it was more intimate where like the fans were literally right there. And we had our own type of like main stage where we got to talk to the fans throughout the entire day too. And that's the thing, when it's a live park as opposed to a live event, basically you're getting different types of people at all different hours. So you may have to do a different type of introduction, every 15, 20 minutes because you're getting a new type of person. So in that respect, it was like trying to keep everyone's attention. Like you're always going to have somebody new come in. So it always stayed fresh that way too. So that was super fun. And I think too, with my experience as a host, I got to use whatever knowledge I had from the live events and bring it over to Monster Jam Thunder Rally and kind of educate a new audience of monster truck fans that maybe they're fans of monster trucks, but they weren't able to get to a live event. And this was their first time really experiencing being up close and personal with the monster truck. So it was a very, very cool experience. And I did about three theme parks with Monster Jam Thunder Alley. So it was really cool. It was a different type of experience. I got to use my announcing and hosting skills from the live events and be able to transfer them over to these events.
So let's switch gears here, and hopefully this will able to, I'll learn some stuff about football. So we're going to switch to a little bit of football. You are a part of a podcast, the Goddamn Jets,
yes.
with another fellow Monster Jam announcer. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, John Saponaro.
Yes. All these Italian names, man, let me tell you.
So talk about your love for football, obviously being a former flight crew member for the Jets. Just talk about, your passion for football and the podcast and what you guys do there.
So thanks to John Saponara and my other co-host, Max Antonucci, they are like the brain power behind the podcast. And they actually invited me on as a guest a couple of times during last season. Talk about my experience with the Jets, talk about football. And in January of this year, they brought me on full time to join the team, which I love because I get to talk about the New York Jets every single week, which is absolutely amazing. For me, like like I said, as a little girl, I grew up watching football. So like for me, football is like, it's like a way of life, which kind of sounds aggressive, but it is. So don't judge, because you all have that sport. You all have a thing like that. So for me, just to be part of the Jets in some capacity still, I got to be a fan growing up, and then I got to cheer for the Jets. And now I get to talk about the Jets, post cheering with this podcast that we do. It's just so cool to have an outlet where I can just talk about football. And that's the interesting thing, is not many females do anything like this. Not many females talk about football, and there needs to be more girls out there that have an interest of football, because you'd be surprised, there's a lot of us that actually know how football works and what the objective of football is. So it's really cool to be able to just share my passion on a weekly basis. We usually air a live episode on Instagram every week. We actually did, John and I, a 3.5 hour watch party for the draft. So that was a long night for us, but so cool to like do something like that where we got to, I always watched the draft. Like I like college football. Penn State and Notre Dame are my teams. And now to be able to incorporate that too now into something that I love on this podcast, it's just such a cool experience. And it's like another full circle type of experience where I get to continue being a part of the Jets in some capacity.
So let's go ahead and talk about it, because I'm a football fan. I'm a sports fan anyway. So the way it is I equal out with you and Brad. I like football like you, and I'm a hockey fan, so I go with Brad too. I'm a sports fan. I don't follow the NBA. I don't hate on me. I just, where geographically I'm at, there was no NBA teams, and
I don't really
I'm not gonna root for the Cavaliers back in the 90s. Yeah, and I wouldn't root for the Cavaliers because they didn't play good basketball until LeBron came. But so my neck of the woods. That's cool, Brad. I don't like basketball. Maybe because I'm short. So I'm just saying, you say go Raptors, and you're just talking to a brick wall, Brad, because no one cares. I'm just saying. But anyway, which pretty cool. The Penguins and the Oilers are in the playoffs. Just a little hockey talk right there. So that's a cool thing, right, Brad? Anyway, the thing is I want to know about is the draft. Who did you think was the winners and the losers for this year's draft? I know a lot of speculations also with free agency and signing players that are not in the draft too, because with history shows sometimes having number one picks ain't going to be the best thing. Go ask Ryan Leaf. And, then again, you have Mr. 6th, 7th round Tom Brady that, you hated. Sorry. But
I still do. It's fine. It's fine.
But I'm just saying, like, which team in the NFL did you think that had the missing pieces fill in the most?
Well, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I thought my Jets did a very good job in the draft this year. They basically, let me tell you, the Jets have not had a draft like this good in like decades. It's been decades. I feel like the Jets answered every single question they could have had in terms of having weapons for Zach Wilson. They picked up some amazing talent. They took care of the defense as well. We picked up tremendous offensive linemen, and we did some damage in the free agency. So for me, I hate to be biased, but I felt like the Jets had a great draft. And I feel like for like the losers, I feel like the Packers, because of all the drama surrounding Aaron Rodgers, they like couldn't have a good draft, and they tried to like appease him by like drafting a wide receiver. But I feel like, I think the Packers still didn't have a really good draft this year.
Yeah, and I was looking at Kepler or whatever his name is from ESPN. He gave a grade of the top, what he thought was good, and he definitely said that Jets, the Bears did a pretty good draft this year, picking
who they did, and the Bears.
and
Picking
then
up
the
Justin
Steelers were a C
Fields,
minus.
man. Whew. Yeah.
That was a good, yeah. But
What
I mean,
it's
overall,
so I couldn't
just,
believe they did a move like that.
yeah. It's just, man, it's hard to do with the drafts because of the past history of the ups and downs and the gold mines that they picked, and I kind of feel bad for the quarterback that the Pats just drafted, because when you have to, and it came like that with Montana with the 49ers, Marino with Miami, when you and LA, and with Elway, you had Manning, but outside of Manning, it's those great quarterbacks that you have that is hard for you to uh stick out. Yes, don't get me wrong, Packers knew how to do that with Favre and Rodgers. I did forget about the Niners with Steve Young. Steve Young still made his name say, but they still talk about Montana, and they still talk about Favre in Green Bay. Some people talk about the other guy in the 60s. Different people like that. Like, I mean, Deck in Dallas is still going to be the shadow of Troy Aikman. Like, for instance, also people in New York are still going to talk about Namath. It's just
legend. Absolutely.
I just feel like the pressure. I feel like the pressure is going to be high on that quarterback for the Pats. Then you have Justin Fields. Let's go with the Bears. To be honest with you, if you're a Bears fan like you are, Mike, the last time you guys had a really good quarterback, he wasn't even that really good, was Mr. McMahon. And the main reason why I think he was really good is because his offense and defense was probably the best in the NFL, in the history of the NFL. Anyone can make you look good if you have the best running back then, the best receivers, the best safeties, the best linemen, the best linebackers. You name it, the Bears had it in 85. And they finally got themselves a quarterback where they can he could be a franchise quarterback. There's a reason why there's memes of Jay Cutler saying, "Miss me already?" It's that bad. But still, I think it was an awesome move that the Bears trade up and they picked him up, because I think they need that firepower, and they need the NFC North. I always thought was kind of in the quarterback realm, kind of weak. Outside of Aaron Rodgers, I thought the second best quarterback was Matt Stafford, but Matt Stafford did not have the talents around him that Detroit was going to give him compared to what Aaron Rodgers had. Minnesota was still looking they had the firepower, but they didn't have the quarter to arrange that. I mean, I understand that they're right now going after Cousin, and Cousin did pretty good at Washington, but he's wishy-washy right now. He's still good. Don't get me wrong, Cousin's still good, but he's not exactly where they wanted him to be. And obviously, and then you have Chicago's situation. So the quarterback range has been dominated by Rodgers. This is something that I think Chicago finally stepped up and did what they needed to do. And I think I'm excited about that. And then I'm excited also the AFC East, because now you have the crazy thing is I think the veteran team in the AFC East is the Buffalo Bills.
Yes.
And now, you have New England, and the thing is, New England didn't really fall back that much. Maybe the season in the numbers and the wins did, but I believe in the college football world that you're going to have that little bit of a rebuilding process when key figures leave. It's going to happen in Alabama. It's going to happen to Miami. It's going to happen to Florida State. It happens in Notre Dame. When key components leave, they have to fill in that gap, and they'll sit back. It's the same thing. But then Miami and the Jets are not that far behind. Yes, the Jets had a rough season last year too, in the last couple of years, but they're in that rebuilding process where they're picking up people and they're putting puzzles together. So the AFC East side, I thought the way I'm looking at it is going to be a Wild West shootout. But I think, me personally, as of right now, I think the Bears may edge, not the Bears, the Bills are going to edge out just a little bit. But if we talk about the 2022 season, I don't know. There's going to be crazy going on there. And then I like going different divisions. I'm a stats guy too. I'm more of a college football fan, to be honest with you. I love college football. But the AFC North, I think that's going to be a wild child. I think it's going to probably be one of the last years of Ben Roethlisberger. But I think that the Steelers did pick up that quarterback that played for Ohio State, that went to Washington, and he said his choice of words and got booed out. But I think, and they also picked up another quarterback. So just in general, I think they're back to they're one of those teams where they can find people. They have that type of deal like the Patriots. Well, they'll find a good player that fit that mold. It's not going to be the 5-star or the first round pick. If they know the guy has the stats that they need, that can play the game mentally and also physically, that can handle that position, then they're going to fill in. But I won't count out Cleveland, and I won't count out Cincinnati. No. Baltimore is also going to be tough too. So, the way the thing is, it's going to be all over the place. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, as of right now, I could see maybe I could possibly see a back-to-back Super Bowl matchup. With Tampa Bay still basically picking up everyone. Tampa Bay didn't really lose anyone.
It's every starter. Every starter came back, which is amazing to me. So it's going to be, interesting. I feel like Kansas City has like beef, I mean, it's watching Kansas City this year in the Super Bowl. It was like watching a different team. It was like watching the Jets. They didn't know what they were doing at all on the field. It was like, what's going on? This is a completely different team. I think they they just were outplayed completely. And of course, Todd Bowles, who was our head coach, couldn't get the job done as a head coach, but clearly as a defensive coach, he was phenomenal. Tampa Bay's defense won that Super Bowl, so it'll be really interesting. Although don't count my Jets out. I'm excited to see what they do this season. Everyone is enthusiastic about, Robert Saleh coming in. He's creating a culture of eat, sleep, and breathe football. People are passionate to be there. They want to be there. And I agree with you. I'm really looking forward to the AFC East, man. It's going to be such a battle now. I am so excited to see how our division plays out this year.
I just think that there's going to be a crazy situation. And I just think that, me personally, I think the Bills are just going to edge out just a little bit. But I think the other teams like the Jets and Dolphins and the Patriots will get all their stuff together. I think maybe the New England Patriots already got their stuff together. I just don't know yet. But I just think they're just going to be edging out. And I think it's going to be the 2022 season. I just think it's just going to be really, really crazy. Now, that's me saying that if they keep everyone, because obviously the rotating real free agency and franchise tags and stuff like that will come about. And one thing I noticed also this year is a lot of teams are signing players that had their contract to their 5th-year contract. Their rookie contract, they added the 5th year to it. I saw that a lot too with players. That's another cool thing. But I'm excited about. I'm just excited about football in general. I think nothing can be. The reason why I'm a college football fan. I went to WVU, and just the atmosphere of college football. I mean, we're not that far away from Ohio State. 100,000 plus people you see just, busting out of what they're doing. And it's the And I'm so excited to find out that NCAA college football is getting back into the video game consoles that you won't be seeing me no more, Brad. I'm a
that's okay.
Football guy.
That's okay. I've been playing NHL 21 like crazy lately.
I like the 3-versus-3 mode on NHL.
Yes. So one question I want to ask Kimberly, since you guys, you're a football fan, what's your thoughts on the CFL? And I don't know if you follow much about Canadian football at all, but I do watch it from time to time. I'm an Edmonton Eskimos fan, being from Alberta. What do you watch any Canadian football at all?
I don't. I'm sorry. I don't know much. I don't know how close it is to the NFL or how different it is. But I'm sure it's fun.
Oh yeah, like because there's a lot of players that have gone on from CFL to guys like Doug Flutie and a lot of other players have played in the CFL and NFL. So I think it's a good stepping stone to get to the NFL. But let's talk a little bit of hockey because being from New York, you guys have plenty of teams around that area. What do you think of like the season that the Rangers and Islanders and New Jersey has had this year?
Again, I'm a huge Rangers fan, and I know like it's hard. Like they've had some good games, and some games they've just have completely blown it. I thought the Islanders looked really good this year. The Devils I really don't follow. I honestly don't. It's more just the Rangers and the Islanders that I follow when it comes to hockey. But there's been so many times where my husband's just screaming at the television because like the Rangers they'll have great moments and then they just like blow it. It's like watching the Jets. It's full circle, guys. It is just full circle in New York sports.
Well, I think when Jordan Eberle
when I watch Penguin hockey, I almost get minor heart attacks. I think every hockey fan has minor heart attacks.
Yeah.
Every single time they play hockey. Minor heart attacks.
I think the Islanders really gained a good player in Jordan Eberle when he got drafted from Edmonton there. Edmonton at that time needed to get rid of like Taylor Hall, which they did, Jordan Eberle, Nail Yakupov, get rid of the guys that they were always drafting that never, made an impact on that team. You look at Edmonton now, we have amazing goaltending finally. We have good defense for the first time in years. Our defense has always sucked. That's one thing that's always because we have we got so many good players. We got James Neal, McDavid, Nugent Hopkins. We have so many good players, but without a good defense, protecting them, it just fell flat. And now look, we're second in the North Division behind Toronto, which is a shocker in itself. Toronto is just like ever since they got John Tavares, oh my goodness, they have gotten good. But I can understand the frustration, with teams losing all the time. Being an Edmonton Oilers fan is a frustrating thing. They lost me a bet last year and I had to drink a gallon of eggnog.
No. Oh, no.
Yep. And we streamed it and everything. I had to drink a gallon of eggnog and I hated my life because of my team. But but it's that you stick to that team. You're loyal to them. With you've been a New York Jets fan since birth, and you've been around them, you've danced for them, and I can I get that, you're loyal to your team, and I respect that because a lot of people waver and go to different teams when their teams start, losing. No, stick with your damn team because that's important.
Exactly. It is important, like that fan loyalty. I've been a diehard Mets and Jets fan my whole life. The Mets. Haven't had great seasons, and then they've had amazing seasons. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like just because let's say the Yankees are doing well doesn't mean I'm going to jump ship. Like I never was that kind of person. I mean, I married someone who is a Yankees and Giants fan, and that's just something I have to live with the rest of my life. But but that's just growing up again with my parents. Both my parents are diehard Mets fans and Jets fans, so it just was something. It's just I feel like it's like sacrilegious. Like it's just something you just don't do, and if you do, then you shouldn't be watching sports at all. That's what I have to say.
Man, it's crazy. We're gonna change different gears and how was your? I just was curious on how was your experience with the AT4 crew?
Oh my God, you guys are such a blast. I had so much fun with you guys. Like, I feel like every day was like kind of like your opening. It was just completely unexpected. Like, you never knew what you were going to get, but it was always so much fun. Like, I think that's the thing. I was like, we always had such a great time on tour. And I loved it. Like, I felt like there were no cliques within our group. Like, everybody hung out together, everybody did stuff together. And that's what's so cool. Like, we really were a family. And I miss that the most. Like, that's what I miss. I miss seeing everybody. And it was like being in a family. So it was just, we had such a blast. So many great memories, man.
Nerf Wars. The random Nerf
guns.
Yeah. It was a good time. And then, were you there when we threw the axes?
Yes, I was. I actually did really well, surprisingly.
I didn't. I didn't do very well, but it was a fun time.
Oh, it was a fun time. That's the thing. Like, we have like so many fun outings we used to do. Like, and I feel everybody was there. It wasn't like a select group of people. Like, everybody did everything together, and it really was like a family. So I wish we could be together right now in person. But it definitely was just so much fun to do. And I feel like even the shows too were just such a blast. Even during the events, like, we would just have fun during the events itself, like high-fiving each other as like we're running around, me trying to steal you for an interview if I could.
I think that's important in the monster truck industry to have like a family vibe and a team vibe. Like, I remember, I'm a lot of friends with a team out of the West Coast, straight up racing with Bill Payne and them. Like, anytime I get to see them, it's like, family reunion, get to hang out with them, and even the Renegade crew, it's a family vibe. And that's the one thing I love about this sport, because it doesn't matter what background you're from. It doesn't matter how you were raised, your color, your skin, doesn't matter what you are. It's a family. We all have a passion for it. And that's what I love about monster trucks. Cause like I said, it's one giant family, and, we all have the same common goal.
Exactly. And I think everyone was so welcoming too, especially to anyone that was like new to AT4. I was on AT4 for 2 years. So, there were some of us that have been together before, and anyone that like came in that was new, it was just such a welcoming environment. Even for me too, coming into this world of monster trucks, it was always I was always felt welcomed into it. And I think that is so important, especially with somebody that maybe either coming, it's new to a tour, doesn't really know that many people, or new to this industry in itself, that the people are just so welcoming, and they try and help you. Like, Chief, you were always so informative, and you always helped me whenever I asked a question. I feel like everyone just wants to help each other out, because at the end of the day, we all want the same goal. We all want the best product out there. So it was just such an amazing environment to be a part of.
I have to say one thing that was pretty cool was Kim took her time, and she asked me to go through the whole truck, top to bottom, front to back, learning about everything. So she knew if a truck bent a 4-link bar, or, broke a sway bar, or like Kurt, liking breaking shocks.
Yes.
She knew exactly what was going on. She knew the truck wasn't right. The truck wasn't, up to snuff, and she would let the fans experience about that. But we have a few questions here for you, Kim, if you're interested in answering.
Sure, of course.
Okay, so Kevin Forrester, I call him Willicky, said, what was your favorite truck? Simple name.
Oh, Gravedigger, of course.
Was there a truck that you like?
Oh, Gravedigger, duh. Yeah.
Yeah. Right here. Yeah. Another one was who was the most eccentric and intense monster truck driver you have ever interviewed?
So I would say definitely the most enthusiastic in terms of like you never knew what you were going to get was Darren Miguez. He was always so much fun to interview, especially if it was your first time ever like interviewing with him. Like he would try to throw you sometimes and like especially days when like either it was like Scott Douglas or Greg Whitaker were there and like you were already nervous to begin with because you're like, oh my God, like my bosses are here, I can't screw this up. And like there's Darren Miguez having, you know, some popcorn and just chilling. And then as you're counting down, you're like, oh my God. But he was always just so much fun to interview. Just so supportive too of everybody. So he was super fun. So that's definitely it's one of my favorite and also like just off the cuff people to interview.
Let's see else what we have here.
That's pretty cool.
We got a question from Mackenzie Ray. Okay, she asked basically the same thing.
It's the same kind of type of question.
Okay.
But yeah. So yeah, Darren Miguez, but I also like to interview Lindsay Reed as well, especially when she was the reigning World Finals champion. It was really cool to be on tour with her during that time when she was the defending freestyle champion and kind of experience that with her.
What was your favorite competition during the shows?
Ooh, I would have to say probably freestyle for me was my favorite because that's, you know, you never knew what you were going to get with the drivers, and the bigger they went, the more excited the fans were and the more excited like I would be there and just kind of waiting for that last minute to see who was going to come out as the overall event champion. I love freestyle because I feel like that's really the magic of monster trucks, just seeing the trucks just fly and soar and do these amazing skills. Like that for me was always my favorite.
So also the atmosphere of the shows that you were with, you had the veteran drivers like Darren Miguez, Mark Hall, Randy Brown. But then on the other side of the card, you had Darren's daughter, Kaylin, you know, Brandon Kaluska, and then you had Zach Garner. Then you had Lindsay Reed, and then Kurt Kramer kind of in the middle. How did you like about the diversify of that group on that arena tour?
I think it kept things exciting. You know, that's what was so cool is that you had the veterans that, you know, have been there before. They knew what to do, but they still brought their A game. You had those in the middle that, you know, they knew what to do. They knew the course, but, you know, they wanted to become that kind of veteran status. And they were always bringing it up a notch to show off that they can play with the veterans. And then you had the rookies who were just so fresh to watch. Like they were absolutely unbelievable. And I feel like that is like the perfect combination of what you want in a monster truck event where like you have the experience, the skill, and the talent, and you put it all together. And like, that's what makes an amazing tour. And I think that's why our tour, again, I'm not going to be biased, but our tour was one of the better tours in my opinion, because we had such a diverse group of skills and talent and experience. And I think having that together, and it was just so cool because you never knew, right? He's like, you never knew who was going to win. You never knew. And it was always something different. Like the person that you expected to win may not have won. It may, you know, a rookie may have came in and stole the show. And then someone like Kurt Kramer comes in and steals the show the next day. It was always so exciting. Just, it was always something different. It kept even us as announcers on the edges of our seats too, because we never knew who was going to come out on top, but also too, that we consider the drivers our friends. It was so cool to be supportive of them and to share in their victories and their successes as well.
So one question that we'd like to ask, you know, we go kind of back and forth with it, ask it, sometimes don't ask it. Any pranks happen on tour? You know, sometimes you guys get downtime. And so is there any pranks that you can talk about that happened, especially if it's on Cheech?
When didn't pranks happen on our tour is the better question. When didn't they happen? Because they happened all the time. So my favorite one from this past tour, there was like, with us, we also had ATV riders with us, right? We had motocross at the same time. So a lot of the riders, they started this like Nerf gun war going on. So like they would just shoot a Nerf gun at everybody. and like you didn't know when it was going to happen and stuff. So my co-host Tiger, we planned this whole thing where like we were in, I forget where we were, but we were in our dressing room, and they were in our room too. So it was like a big room. We had like a little insert within that room. And it was like Mortal Kombat. We like played the music. He came out of the room screaming and like shooting like this like machete of a like Nerf gun at the rioters. It was absolutely hilarious. They did not expect anything. I think I still have the video. I have to find it, but it was epic. But yeah, that was the thing. We always had so much fun. Like when we needed to be serious, we were serious. But when we were ready to have a good time, like there was no hesitation. Like we had such an amazing time on tour.
No, I remember you were talking about we had little gangs. We weren't like little gangs, but when it came to Nerf war fighting, we had our own gangs. There was one time, I think it was either Worcester or Hartford. We had the drivers meeting. So you had the motocross people with their Nerf guns. You had Brandon and Zach with theirs, and you had me and my team. Nathan and all them had Nerf guns on the table, ready for whoever was gonna fire first. So in the middle of the drivers' meeting, there was a random Nerf war that just broke out, and our event director couldn't stop it, and it felt like a West Side Story or like Anchorman.
Yes,
and when the different
I was in the middle
people,
of it. I was like in the middle. I was like hiding under the. I'm not even kidding. I was like sinking out of my seat. I was like under the table. I was like, please don't hit me. I'm not involved in this. I don't even know why I'm here. What's happening? It was. Oh my god! It was hilarious.
I even had a.
But yeah, I remember fearing for my life.
I had a Fortnite bazooka, and then I was like,
you sure did.
And then like
you sure did.
And they had this big Nerf thing is coming out of the middle. I was like, bring the infantry, kaboom! And then like I had this.
It was so aggressive.
Gatling gun on the table. I just. I was like, I was one time at Walmart, Brad. I just thought one time at Walmart, I was like, I'm just going to. I'm tired of it, so I just went commando and bought every ammunition I cleared out the Rantoul, Illinois Walmart with Nerf guns. And I think I reached about maybe 200 and 250 ammunition stuff. And I went ahead and loaded up. It's still in trailer 5. So if anyone wants some Nerf stuff, it's still in trailer 5. But I remember it was just, and then Randy and Lindsay had Nerf guns too. So it was just an ongoing battle. But that was the Gettysburg of our Nerf.
It really was
that day.
I can just imagine Cheech. You see him just diving over a table sideways, just in slow motion. I can imagine Cheech doing that.
It was epic. You had to be there. It was epic.
I had a little side gun, so when I threw my gun away, little nader here had what did you have? One big double gun.
I had like the double shotgun. I think I called it the rough cut or something. It was like a 4 or 8 shot shotgun shot to it.
And I had also those yellow ball ones too.
We had the rival rounds. That's the one I used. I used that red rival shotgun in yours.
Because it all started because Tiffany TJ ate someone in the head, and while they were walking in, and just went. It was not even towards any of the people with the Nerf guns, but we saw a Nerf bullet. And we all went, bada, 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 bada. It was just like, not even, it was a stranded casualty that started that whole war. And Garrett couldn't control nothing. It was a long story. Skylar and Garrett couldn't do nothing.
And each week, like, I felt like more people got bigger Nerf guns. Like, each week it got just bigger. The whole escapade of it all. Like, people came in with bigger Nerf guns. They it just became this whole thing. And then literally like sitting in drivers meetings, like everybody like lined up like with their guns. I'm like, oh my God. Like I feel like I need to get something. Like I need like, I don't know, like a Nerf ball or something to protect myself.
And the crazy thing is all our weapons were on the table. It wasn't hidden. It was like on the table, ready for whatever is happening.
It's like you show up for drivers meeting, you just go. If anybody starts something, I'm going.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it was business.
It was just like
you just see
it was like
you see Cheech walk up with like double like over his shoulder like
barrels,
a backpack full of stuff.
Yeah,
he sets it down. It's just like looks at everybody. He's just like, okay, don't start anything you don't want to finish.
Right.
Another AT. I don't know if you saw it, Kim, but you ever noticed me wearing a backpack during pit party?
Yes. Was it in there?
No? Okay. So I always wear a backpack to drive Mark's truck. And always, all the time, I don't know if it's in the left side or the right side, but the interviews, it's Mark, Brandon, and Zach. And every single time I'm waving to the crowd, driving the truck around, they wave back. And when you said book bag, that just reminded me of that because that's the only way I could drive those trucks were wearing a book bag. But it's always been an ongoing story. But
see, I could just imagine like she's driving the truck past, waving, all of a sudden just pop, 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 pop. Drive by.
Yeah.
Drive by. Pop, pop, pop. I would have definitely got a lecture.
Probably.
Yeah. Like you always, even back behind the scenes during events, you just had to be on your A game because you never knew at any point somebody could like whip it out and that's it. Nerf gun war like would start immediately.
Yeah. It was just I know in Worcester after a show it just randomly started in the pits, and I just I wasn't part of it, but my teammate Nathan seemed like it was him against the world, and he was getting aced. It was kind of like he handled himself, but it was still a fun time, But is there any type of social media people can follow you at?
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys can follow me at Kimberly Cantoni on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
Ooh. All right.
All the things.
All the things. But it was a blast talking to you. And it's kind of a cool thing to have an in-depth of what a Monster Jam announcer and also the kind of the small history that you had, and it's pretty cool. I mean, you're it's awesome to talk about football. And it was cool when I was at the 2016 Monster Jam year and talking to Taylor Mock. She was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers cheerleader at one time and talked to her about football too. So it's not that far off because there's you're not the only one, and I thought that was pretty cool.
No, thank you guys so much for having me on the show. I had so much fun with you guys, just talking about everything and reliving some amazing memories with AT4. So thank you guys. I had a blast.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. It was awesome to get to talk to you and get to know you. Yeah, I'm here. Awesome to get to know your background and there's the delay still. And just thank you for coming on. It was awesome to be able to talk to you.
Thank you guys so much.
All right. Take care.
So, folks, want to let you know that thank you for J Concepts, High Octane Coffee, JB Scale Graphics, 6B Apparel, and also Bradley Shaw Designs. Next week, we're going to have Raj Schmidt on, which is going to be a pretty cool episode. We'll talk about his history and, his famous time of driving Gravedigger and recently purchasing 2 trucks and coming out with a few shows. So that's going to be pretty cool. Once again, folks, if you want to email me, my bat light's back on, try PayPal, maybe Pen Pal, pigeon, my pigeon. I got 2 new pigeons And even Nathan can run and deliver some stuff for me too. Or you can just go on Facebook, Instagram, and check out me at Dan Agosh or Dan 10, and also take a look at my RC trucks at Agosh Racing. So that's pretty much it for me. Let's go. Yeah. How about you? Send them out. I need an owl. Harry Potter.
You can follow me on Instagram at the Monster Truck Canucker. Give me a follow on Facebook. I'm gonna be starting up my streaming here now that I'm back in my apartment, so that'll be happening. And I just saw Isaac's thing.
That's our RC racing team. Me and Isaac, one full Asian racing, because Isaac's half Asian and I'm half Asian. Together we are one. So
alrighty, guys. So next week we have Rod Schmidt coming on, and awesome episode with Kimberly. Again, thank you for coming on. And Cheech, shall we wrap her up?
Yes, sir, Bob.
Alrighty. As we always say on the podcast, everybody, keep the rubber side down, the shiny side up. Peace.